Hi there, welcome back to Abus and Beyond. And those of you who watched our video where we showed me installing the diesel heater into our big crafter, you will see that we actually tested that it all worked using this Bluetti AC200MAX. And I said in that video that I would actually explain in another video all about how this works, what it does and everything like that. So that is this video. So let's take a look at the Bluetti AC200MAX. Right, I'm going to try and keep a lot of the facts and figures sort of down to a minimum because it can get a little bit overwhelming with electrical devices. But the first one, which is quite an important one, is 28 kilos in weight. So yeah, it's got a bit of a heft to it. But what is a portable power station? Those of you who've never used one, never had one before, essentially what it is it's a battery with an inverter built into it and loads of clever tech. So you charge up your battery and then you can use that battery power to charge 12 volt and 230 volt devices. The battery capacity in this AC200MAX is 2048 watt hours. Essentially what that means is if you have a device that is 2048 watts, this will last an hour before it's completely empty. Now, to put that into some sort of perspective, most decent size air fryers are around about 1600 watt, 1800 watt. You're going to get just over an hour from something like an air fryer. Another thing, like a kettle, again, is probably about 1600 watts, so same sort of thing. And they are real big draws of power, that kind of heating element device. They really suck power like mad. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, well, an hour's use, that's not much at all. But on the flip side of that, if you're using a mobile phone, if you want to charge your mobile phone, on the top here, you've actually got a couple of wireless charging ports, and you can just pop your phone on there. It will actually charge, and that will charge at 15 watts. So to put that into perspective, this will charge a phone for 136 hours. So you're going to get a hell of a lot of charges for a mobile phone. So that's the flip side. Big devices that have got big heating elements like kettles, air fryers, you're going to get around about an hour. But electronic devices charging, you're going to be able to charge multiple devices and get multiple charges out of those devices. Right, so I'm going to talk about the inputs first. How do you charge this device? And the reason I'm going to talk about the inputs first is because I forgot to charge it before this video. So you can see it is plugged into a 3-pin plug. The maximum you can draw when you plugged into a 3-pin plug is 400 watts. So bearing in mind this is over 2000 watt hour battery, it takes around about 5 to 6 hours to fully charge just from the mains plug. Now, there are other ways you can charge this, and one of them is using this. Now, this is a bit of a beast. This is the new PV420 folding solar panels. So this is a 420 watt solar panel setup, and as you can see, it all folds away. It's still pretty big, there's no question about that, but obviously it's quite a bit bigger when it's all folded out. If you come around the side here, you can see that there's actually a built-in stand, which is quite cool. And it's actually got, wherever you put these press studs will signify what angle the solar panel is at. So if it's on that one, it'll be at 45 degrees. So you've got 3 different settings. You've got 55 degrees, 45 degrees and 35 degrees, just depending on where the sun is in the sky, usually dependent upon what time of year it is. So this is currently at 45 degrees. And then zipped up in the back is your positive and negative wire. Now with the solar panel, you get this included cable, which gives you the adapter from the solar panel to the AC200, and with the AC200 you get this adapter which plugs into the side and allows you to charge from solar panels. So this uses it's called an aviation style DC input plug. It basically locks in, which is quite nice. So you plug that in there like so, and it has a screw tightening lock on it to stop that coming out. So it has the aviation style plug on one side, then it has an XT90 on the other end. That just clips in into your solar adapter, and then you plug these MC4 connectors. Like I said, I'd keep the letters and numbers to a minimum. Plugged in on both of those, and then that's the solar plugged in. Now unfortunately it's a pretty cloudy day today, so we're not going to get a huge amount of solar, but if I look on the screen now, I can see that we're getting 465 watts of input from the grid, so that's why it's plugged into the 3-pin plug, and we're getting 36 watts of solar at the minute. It's not even pointing in the right direction, and you can see here that we're between two houses, so you've got no chance of getting anywhere near that 420 watts. But the point is, you could have 460 odd watts coming from the grid, 420 watts coming from the solar panel, giving you nearly 900 watts of input into this to charge it. So that will charge twice as fast, and you can actually put up to 900 watts of input just through the solar alone. So in total 1,300 watts. So you could charge this in sort of 2 hours if you fully combined the maximum capabilities of both those inputs. Now the way you would get up to 900 watts is by putting multiple solar arrays plugged together and into this to maximize that charging. So for example, we've got two 180 watt solar panels on the roof of the van, combined total of 360 watts. You could add that to the 420 here, giving you a total of 780 watts of solar input. So it gives you loads of flexibility. You could charge it from solar alone if you wanted to. It'd take a lot longer obviously, or you could do a combination of both and really maximize that charging capabilities. There is also another way you can charge this. So using this aviation cable that goes to the XT90 plug, this is plugged into solar adapter, but also included with the AC200 is a 12 volt cigarette lighter cable. So you unplug this, that bit, and then you use the included XT90 to cigarette lighter cable. You can then use that plugged into your 12 volt cigarette lighter plug in your car. As you're driving along, it will then also charge the AC200 using that. So you can get energy as you're driving along to your campsite. You can charge up your power station that way as well. Right, let's have a look at the outputs. I've already mentioned the wireless chargers. They're 15 watt wireless chargers. Like to say, you can just pop your phone on the top and they will charge that way. At the front, I do really appreciate the fact that it's got dust covers on all of these outputs just to protect them. But on this side, you've got 4 3-pin plugs. The bottom 2 are orientated down, so the cable goes down. The top 2 are orientated up, so that you plug devices in, the cable goes up, so they don't foul on each other, so that's good. These have a combined total of 2,200 watt output. So you can plug one device in, like an air fryer, and power that just from that one device, or you can plug in 4 devices up to a combined total of 2,200 watts. And it does also have a surge maximum limit of 4,800 watts. So if you plug something in that's got a real big draw of power, it will protect it up to 4,800 watts, which is huge. So yeah, pretty much anything household you can plug into this and it will power. Alongside that, you've got USB-A ports. So that's your old style USB plugs, and they work up to 3 amps, so you know, relatively low, but charging phones, charging cameras, that kind of stuff works fine from there. You've also got a couple of USB-A 18 watt ports, similar thing, you know, plugging in phones. So you've got a total of 4 USB-As. You know, that is a lot of USB ports. The beauty of it is there is a USB-C port. Obviously a lot of stuff is turned into USB-C now, and that's up to 100 watts. So charging things like a MacBook, that kind of stuff, really nice and quick through the USB-C port. Next to that, there's a 12 volt DC port. Now, we don't tend to use this in the UK. I think it's used a bit more in America, but you can get some sort of cables that utilize that, but yeah, we don't tend to use that here in the UK. Underneath that, you've got another one of those aviation style plugs like this on the side here, but this is an output, and this is what we actually used to test the diesel heater. So we actually soldered a cable together using an aviation style plug, which we bought from Amazon, and we just plugged it in there, and that gives you a 12 volt feed from this. Useful for things like the diesel heater, that kind of stuff. And then the final output is a more traditional 12 volt cigarette lighter style port at the top there. Well, there's another couple of inputs that we've not spoken about, and they're quite exciting because we've got something else. I shall bring it out. Look at that. I need something else first. Plus cable. Right, what this is the Bluetti B230. This is an additional battery, so this is like an expansion pack for your Bluetti AC200MAX. What it comprises of is pretty much just a battery. There's a little bit of electronics built into it, but it is pretty much just a battery. What you can do with this, using this cable, is you can expand the capacity of this battery. So you plug that into there, lock it, plug that into there, and lock it, turn it on, and then we have now doubled the battery capacity of this whole setup. This is another 2048 watt hour battery, giving it a combined of like 4100 watt hours. It is an absolute beast in this configuration. Right, so when you plug this in, it's actually got some real quite clever technology built into this. This talks to this, they both talk to each other, and it works out the most optimum way of charging and discharging whenever you're charging or using the device. For example, when you're charging, if this bottom one is charged all the way up to say 80%, and then all of a sudden you just drop this in at 0%, it will try and balance the two devices together. So it will stop charging this and it will start charging this to bring it up to that 80%, because it knows that if these are both at the same state of charge, they both have the same sort of power behind them, and they will just work far more efficiently. Same when you're discharging. If you've been using this loads and it's down at 20%, this is say at 100%, and you just go and plug it straight in, it will start using this first and bring it down and try and equalize that kind of capacity. So some really clever technology built into it. You can see how that is all happening in the Bluetti app. It's a really neat app. It shows you exactly what is going on, what's been, how it's been charged, whether it's coming from the grid or whether it's coming from solar, and it also shows you which of these two devices is charging and which of them is discharging, which is on standby, all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really clever. So the Bluetti app was recently updated, and it basically gives you the same sort of information that you get on the screen, but in my opinion, I think it actually puts it in a bit of a prettier format. It's actually quite a nice format. You can see the flow of the power going to the AC products, the flow of the power going to the DC products, and you can actually from the app turn on and off the AC and DC output as well, so that's quite cool. Again, you've got the battery information, so you can see when you have your B230 plugged in, it will show you whether it is charging or discharging. It shows you the status of both additional batteries if they're both plugged in. There is also a forum section, so if you've got any questions you can ask other users how they get on with their kit. There's a shop tab, so you can buy more products, and you can see there's also a service area as well, so if you've got anything wrong with your product you can just go on there and go through frequently asked questions, or even get in touch with customer service as well. Another neat feature about this is it can also be used as a standalone unit. There's no inverter built into it, so you can't use 230 volt products at all, but you can use 12 volt products. On the side here you have a couple of outputs. So you've got a USB-C, 100 watt USB-C output, an 18 watt USB-A output, and again another cigarette lighter style 12 volt 10 amp output. And these can all be used independent of the bottom sort of brains behind the system. So that's really neat. And also you can charge this alone as well. If this is already full, you can just plug this into the AC adapter and just charge it that way as well. So it's a nice little addition. It really does give you quite a lot of flexibility, and together it gives you tons. I mean, like I said earlier, 136 hours of charging my phone at 15 watts on its own. So you're at like 300 hours of charging your phone. You're going to get absolutely tons of charges of your phone or your laptop, anything like that. If you then want to use kettles and air fryers, that kind of stuff, you're going to get obviously double the capacity as you would have done with just this. So yeah, it's a really nice add-on, and it doesn't take up too much space. These cables are fairly compact, so it doesn't take up too much space. And the beauty of it is you can actually add yet another one of these in, so it'll give you over 6,000 watt hours of power. Just, I don't know why you'd need that, because that is absolutely tons. But if you're off-grid living, the more power the better. The more capacity you've got, the better. So yeah, that's a really cool touch. Right, well that's all the facts and figures of the Bluetti AC200MAX and the B230, but what have we actually been using it for? Because that's the important thing. It's all well and good firing off stats, but what have we actually been using it for ourselves? So quite a few things really. Firstly, charging drill batteries. This is a never-ending thing when you're working on a van like we are. So you can just plug that in. You have to turn the AC on, so that starts charging, and immediately on the display you can see we're getting 460 watts of input from the grid, we're getting 111 watts of solar input, and we are discharging at a rate of 130 watts. So this will still keep charging. We're actually not using that much power at all. Other things we've had plugged in are lights. We don't have the electrics fully set up yet in the van, so we've got internal lights that we've got wired up. More importantly though, music. It can go a little bit crazy if you don't have some sort of entertainment when you're working on the van. Can you hear Lena in the background? She keeps squeaking.
You showed them.
She's inside there, look. Keeps squeaking.
The camera operator has to carry her.
Oh, and also, check that out. That's just arrived. So we've got that for a week. So make sure you stay subscribed. There is more coming on the T7. Oh, the sun just came out. 150 watts of solar. We're not even pointing the right direction. I'm a bit sad when it comes to solar. It's quite exciting. But yeah, as I was saying, you really need some tunes on when you are working in the van, and we actually plug our Sonos into the van, and it's connected to the house network, so that's why that works. But yeah, really straightforward. You can, it's connecting to this, and you can play your tracks So that's now drawing, yeah, I mean, that adds hardly anything. In total, we're drawing 146 watts. So that's quite nice to be able to have that on in the van while it's working as well. But also, we haven't just been working on the van in recent times, we've actually been using it. We've actually been going away for day trips. We went to Campers and Coffee. If you've not seen that video, check it out. It'll be linked in the description below. But we've also nipped to the local beach, and we've taken our fridge that we had in our California beach. So this is the Dometic CFX 35, I think it is. And this is a 12 volt fridge. If I plug this into the cigarette lighter, like so, DC is already on, and now we are running two 30 volt AC products and one 12 volt product. So the fridge is now powering up, so that'll start, it's at 19 degrees in there at the minute, and that'll start coming down to 3 degrees, which we've got it set at. And that's now drawing 40 watts of DC power. So where are we at? We've got 500 watts coming in, and we've only got 200 watts going out, so this will actually still keep charging even in this configuration, so that's pretty good. That's just a quick selection of some of the things that you can use this this setup for. Another absolutely vital use for this when we've been away in the van is we've been able to use a kettle to warm up water and warm up the milk for Lena. We only get about 3 or 4 hours before she needs a feed, so you don't have to return back. This allows us to warm up the milk for Lena and feed her whilst we're actually out and about, so that's really, really useful.
And keep it cool. And keep the milk cool.
And yeah, and then we put the milk in there. Oh, Bakewell. Definitely eating that. Right, well there you have it. That is the Bluetti AC200MAX, the B230 battery, and the PV 420 solar panel setup. What a beastie setup this is together. It makes pretty much any vehicle off-grid. It's really, really great. Our plans for the future is to use this in addition to our electrical install. You could probably use just this to power the whole van, but we are actually going to use it in addition, just to maximise our off-grid living. Additional solar panels, additional battery power, it'll just give us so much flexibility. So can't wait to see how we get on with that. Huge thank you to Bluetti for gifting us this awesome setup. It allows us to produce this video and show you how versatile a setup like this is for not only off-grid living in a camper van or any vehicle. It turns any vehicle into a camper van, but also when you're working on a beast like this, it just gives you so much flexibility and power inside the van, so that's great. Make sure you check out Bluetti in the description below. They often have sales on, they often really discount the prices, and there's always something really, really cool. So it's really worth checking out the website often and seeing what goodies they've got. Thank you so much for watching. Please do consider subscribing, it really, really helps us out. And yeah, there's so much more left to do on this big van, so there's plenty more videos coming. Thank you so much for watching, we'll see you in the next video. Cheers!